Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Bill Keller, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes to tell you about something that my wife and I have discovered that has completely changed the way that we do our grocery shopping and the way we cook our food. We're very excited about it. The company is called Thrive, and they make a complete line of freeze-dried foods. This is roast beef. This is chili peppers. See, I believe, like many Americans do, that we are headed for some difficult times in this country, both politically and economically. So therefore, I believe that it is prudent to save a little bit of food set aside to prepare for the future. So I went online to look for a source for freeze-dried food that I could store so that we would have some when we needed it. And what I found was a whole bunch of different companies that had good stuff. This is one. This is actually one that I remember using when I was backpacking 40 years ago. This is beef stroganoff with noodles. This is good stuff. I've used it many times. Like I said, you just open it up, add water, and boil for a minute, and there you go. You got beef stroganoff. The problem with this kind of thing is that, first of all, my wife is celiac, which means that she is intolerant to gluten. And almost every one of these meals has gluten in it, so she can't eat any of them. But the other thing that's more relevant to everyone listening is that you can only eat beef stroganoff or chicken teriyaki rice so many times until you really get sick of it. You just can't survive on that for long periods of time. What makes Thrive different is that rather than having entrees like this, they have individual products that you can just cook at home just like you normally do. Like I said, this is a can of ground beef. We have here, this is a can of strawberries. Everything comes in individual cans so you can just rehydrate them and cook just like you normally do. In fact, you don't even necessarily have to rehydrate them. This strawberries, you can see they're crunchy. If you don't add water, they're crunchy, and they are, oh, they're so good. Just put them in water for a couple minutes and they rehydrate just like fresh strawberries. So, I believe that freeze drying is relatively new. Many people don't know much about it. I believe freeze drying is the future technology of food storage. In the late 1800s, someone invented or discovered, I don't know which, the canning process. And at first the general public was very resistant to that. You're going to what? You're going to put food in a jar and you're going to eat it a year later? I don't think so. Then in the 1930s, after electricity and all that, frozen food was invented. And once again, everyone was very skeptical about frozen food. You're going to freeze it and you're going to eat it a year later. Both canning and freezing were very, the public was very resistant to that when they first started. Freeze drying is the same way. It's a relatively new technology and it's far superior to freezing and canning, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But most people don't really realize yet, but I believe in the future that will be what most people will be using for storing food, is the freeze drying process. So I found Thrive online and I decided that I wanted to use that to store food for the future. So we ordered a couple of things. And I decided that, you know, I really don't want to spend a whole lot of money to put 6 months worth of food or a year's worth of food away and not even know what it tastes like, and then discover when I need it that I really don't like it. So we sampled a few things and we really liked what we found. And so we bought a few more things and we sampled a few more things, and over a couple of months we discovered we became users of Thrive products. Now we are actually using probably 50 to 60% of our cooking is with Thrive dehydrated food. And I have a complete pantry over here that we call our daily use pantry, which I'll show you in a minute. Now we have our food storage, which we call our home store, down in the basement. This is our daily use pantry. This is our dining room, and I built this shelf in the dining room to hold the food. And notice it's all color coordinated. Over here, all of the green, that's all of our vegetables. We got bell peppers, mushrooms, onions, peas, corn, asparagus, celery, anything you could want. The purple here is the proteins, the meats. We've got not only things like beans, but we've also got sausage, ground beef, chicken, roast beef. Down here the pink, that's all the fruits. And then the blue is dairy products. We have milk, we have cheese blend. Over here we have yogurt. This is what we use on a daily basis to cook our meals. Now let me tell you a little bit about the food itself. It's very high quality food. Everything that they have is either FDA certified or USDA certified. There's no GMOs, no MSG, no growth hormones or anything like that in the meats. Most of their products are certified gluten-free, and they have a 25-year shelf life before you open the can. Once you open the can, they have a 1-year shelf life. So you can buy it now and you can see that if you need it 10 years from now or 15 years from now, it's still going to be good. But once you open it, you don't have to feel like you have to rush through one of these big cans. You know, these are fairly large cans. This is a 1-gallon can. You don't want to have to feel like you got to rush through it, because after you open it, it's a 1-year shelf life. And it's very healthy. Compare it to the grocery store produce. And let's talk about the grocery store produce for a minute. First of all, it's usually picked before it's ripe, which means that it has not developed all of its taste. It has not developed all of the nutrition that it should have. And then it's transported, and who knows how long that takes, depending on where it's grown. And then it's stored, and it's artificially ripened when it's ready to go to the market. There's an article in the Reader's Digest in February 2014, and it's called "Who Knew? 50 Secrets Your Grocer Won't Tell You." And if you look at number 20 in that article, this is a grocer talking, and he says, "Believe it or not, my years of research have found that the average apple that you see in the supermarket is 14 months old or older." I read that and I thought, how can that possibly be? And then I realized, when are apples harvested? In the fall, right? So you go to the store in April or May or even June, you know, when the trees are just budding and just beginning to grow. How can you have an apple now that was harvested last fall? So it's been sitting in storage someplace for 6, 8, 9 months. It makes sense when you think about it, but you just generally don't think about it when you buy it at the store. Now, compare that to food that you might buy in the summer at a farmer's market. The farmer's market food always tastes so much better. It just pops in your mouth, the taste when you eat it. Why is that? It's because it was picked just 24 hours ago or less. It was vine ripened or tree ripened and picked, and then you buy it and you're eating it within a day or two. Thrive food is the same way. It's ripened on the vine, it's ripened on the tree. They don't pick it until it's ripe and ready to go, which means it has the maximum amount of flavor that it's supposed to have. It has the maximum amount of nutrition. And then they flash freeze it at very cold temperatures within 12 hours of being picked. Now this means that all of the nutrients are frozen in, all of the flavor is frozen right in, all of the enzymes and the antioxidants, it's all in there. Grocery store produce, many of it either never developed or it deteriorated over time as it sat in storage. So Thrive food is more nutritious and it tastes better. And when you eat it, your taste buds don't lie. Your taste buds tell you how much better and what better quality food Thrive food is compared to stuff you buy at the grocery store. And then we find that it's very convenient and it's very time saving. You have virtually no prep time, because you don't have to wash and scrub the vegetables, you don't have to chop them up, you don't have to spend time thawing meat or browning meat, you don't have to try to figure out how to get rid of the grease when you're done, you don't have as many pots and pans to wash because you didn't have to brown meat, for instance. You don't have to go to the grocery store as often, because once you develop a home store or a pantry like we have, you have everything that you need. So you're not going to start making something and discover, oh, I ran out of mushrooms, I got to go to the store and buy mushrooms. And then what happens? You spend time going to the store, you spend gas going to the store, and then you get there and you buy just mushrooms and walk out, right? No, probably not. You're probably going to spend a whole lot more time in the store, and you're going to do some impulse shopping while you're there, so you're going to spend more money. So you just have less time at the grocery store. And then when you actually do plan to go to the grocery store for your weekly shopping, you're going to find that you're going to be buying a lot less at the store because you have all this stuff in your home pantry, and so you'll spend half as much time on your actual grocery shopping trips that were planned. Now, cost. It's really very efficient. There was a study done by an MBA student at the University of Utah who studied, I don't remember the exact number, but it was about 150 some families of 4 who used Thrive, and he wanted to find out about the cost effectiveness of Thrive foods. And what he discovered over a period of time was that any family of 4 who used Thrive foods in at least 50% or more of their daily cooking saved about $150 a month on their grocery bill. Now, how can that be? Well, first of all, have you ever opened your refrigerator and found something in there that was rotten or spoiled? Of course, that's something that we all experience. In fact, most people don't realize it, but most Americans throw away, on average, 25% of the food that they buy at the grocery store. Either it spoils in the refrigerator before they get to it, or they make too much and it spoils as leftovers because they don't go back to it. So you're paying for all that food spoilage, and that's as much as $2,000 a year of food that you're buying that's spoiling in the refrigerator. So if you use Thrive food, you'll have no more rotten food in the fridge. Also, you're not buying stuff or paying for stuff that you can't use. If you buy a head of broccoli, for instance, you usually by weight, and you have to throw away the stalk. It's not edible. Same thing with the meats. Many meats you buy has a bone in it, and it goes by weight, so you're paying for the bone. Well, you don't have to pay for the bone with Thrive foods. The broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus, for instance, is just the florets, just the tiny part at the top that's the best part. All of the woody stuff is gone. You don't even see that. And you have no excess. Many times you end up making more than you need, because when you open a can of something or you buy a pound of hamburger, you really don't need quite that much, but you use it anyway when you cook your meal, so you end up with leftovers that you never eat, and then they end up being thrown away. But with Thrive, you can take out just the exact amount that you need, and you don't have any spoilage there. Now, when I first started looking at Thrive, I was really skeptical, because I was looking at, a can of peas is cost, $15 or $17. I thought, how can I spend that kind of money on just peas? But we really wanted to get it for the home store, so we bought it. But then we found out when we started using it that can of peas, now peas are one of our favorite vegetables. Elizabeth and I use peas every week, sometimes twice a week. We use a lot of peas. And we discovered that with just the two of us, that can of peas lasted us 2.5 months. So what we discovered by using it is that actually, though it seems like a lot when you first buy it, the cost per serving is considerably cheaper than canned or frozen peas from the grocery store. Okay, saving costs, saving money. I already talked about the impulse buying. Studies have shown that 20 to 70% of purchases made in the store are actually impulse buying. And if you don't go to the store as often, you're not going to be spending all that money on impulse buys. You're also going to be eating healthier, because you're not going to be eating as many impulse snacks that are not as good for you, when you can eat, Thrive fruits and those sorts of things. Now, I want to show you just a little bit how fast and easy it is to cook with Thrive. I want to show you how easy it is to cook with Thrive and how much time you can save. Let's take, for instance, omelets. You like omelets? Most people like omelets. So you have them every day, right? Because they're so good. Probably not. Why is that? Because they're so labor intensive. You got to first of all decide what you want in the omelets and go to the store and buy it. Then when you bring it home, you got to spend all that time chopping and dicing all of the different vegetables and whatever the meats or whatever you're going to put in the omelet. And then if you want to put some meat in there like sausage, you got to pre-cook it before you make the omelet. So most people don't make omelets very often. Well, we make them a lot because we really like them. And for us, we just take all the different cans of things, and I'll take a couple of tablespoons of bell peppers and a couple tablespoons of mushrooms and diced tomatoes and onions and sausage crumbles. It looks like hamburger, but it's sausage. And just throw in all the ingredients that you want in a little bowl and put a little bit of water in there and let them rehydrate for a couple minutes while you prepare the eggs. Pour in the cheese. Thrive has dehydrated grated cheese. Pour in anything you want and just let it rehydrate, put it in your omelet, and you're done in just a few minutes instead of all the time-intensive labor to actually fix omelets with fresh food the traditional way. Now, I want to show you how easy it is to cook. This is a recipe that we found on the Thrive website. They have a whole section of recipes that you can cook with Thrive Foods. This is a taco soup. And we have found that it's one of our favorites. We really love it, and it's actually quite hearty. First, it starts with ground beef. Now let's talk about ground beef. What do you normally do? You have to go to the store and buy it, of course, and then you bring it home, and if it's going to be more than a day or two, you're probably going to freeze it so it doesn't spoil in the fridge. And then when you're ready to make it, you've got to take it out, and then you've got to thaw it out in a microwave, or many people just brown it in a frying pan and scrape off a little bit at a time as it cooks and as it thaws out, and it's a real pain in the neck. And then you have to pour off the grease, and you have to let it, you got that greasy pan to clean. Just that process in itself takes a lot of time. Now let me show you what I do to prepare my hamburger for this taco soup. Oh, another thing, this takes 1 cup of hamburger, which is a half a pound of hamburger, because 2 cups is a pound. So if you have a pound of hamburger frozen in the refrigerator and you're going to make this soup, you only need a half a pound. What do? Well, here's my hamburger. Okay, I'm done with my hamburger. See how easy that is? How much time you can save? And then black beans. These are instant black beans. One cup of black beans. Done with that. 3/4 of a cup of sweet corn. We have a 1/4 cup of chili peppers. We love these chili peppers. If you want it hotter, you can put in more. But here's a 1/4 cup of chili peppers. 3/4 a cup of sour cream. This is a sour cream powder that you can mix up and just like sour cream, you just add the right amount until it starts to get like thick like sour cream does. But we're putting it in the soup. And it looks like I'm about out. I don't have 3/4 a cup. I only got about a half a cup there. I got another can over there. The sour cream. A 1/4 cup of tomato paste. Tomato paste is actually, it's a powder. My wife absolutely loves this tomato paste. Quarter cup of tomato paste. And then the only other thing that I forgot to bring over, it's over there, is a package of taco seasoning. This is the only thing that's not Thrive, but it's still powdered and it'll last a long time on your shelf. Let me go get that. Sorry about that. 1 package of taco seasoning from the grocery store. Pour that in. And then we have, this is shredded cheddar cheese. And you pour that in. And I'm basically done. How long did it take me to do that? 5 minutes. Now what I do is I put in 6 cups of water in this, and then put it on the stove, bring it to a boil, simmer for 10 minutes, and you're done. It's really an excellent soup. We really love it. Like I said, we just recently discovered it on the Thrive website, and it's considerably more hearty than it seems like it would be, and it's very fast, very easy, and it's just taken me 5 minutes. If I had done it with fresh product, it probably would have taken me 20 minutes or more, a half hour maybe, by the time I brown the meat and all that. See how fast and easy and convenient Thrive food is. Thrive food is very convenient to purchase. You just go to the website, my website, which is bkeller.thrivelife.com. I'll put it down here at the bottom so you can see it. bkeller.thrivelife.com. You order it from a website and they just deliver it right directly to your house. It couldn't be easier. They also have something an auto ship program, monthly auto ship that they call the Q. And all you do is just put on there basically like a wish list of things that you want to purchase. And every month they'll just draw off of that list and just automatically ship that stuff to you. It's completely customizable. You can increase or decrease the amount of money you're spending every month on the queue. You can change or update the products that you want shipped to you. It's very fast, very easy. We have been on a journey, and like I first started out telling you, I was looking for a source for food storage, for long-term food storage, and we discovered that it's so fast and convenient and time-saving and money-saving and everything else that we're using it on a regular basis. But we are also building up our home store so that we have food in emergency. And I just want to talk a little bit about that. Most of you, I'm sure, are aware of some of the things that are going on in this country. Some of it's really scary. There are political issues, there are economic issues with the deficit, there are also natural disasters and things like that that would make it really advantageous to have some food supply set aside in case of emergencies. I don't want to go into too much detail here or depth, but you know, with the national debt, there's no way that this is sustainable. The national debt right now is about $200,000 per American citizen, and there's no way that we can ever come out of that. Even if we would balance the budget right now, we're already dangling over the cliff, and there's no way to sustain that. There's no way to change that. I believe that we are in for a collapse of the dollar, and if that happens, basically trucking will stop. Trucks right now, everything that you buy at the store has been transported by truck at least 2 or 3 times. Right now at about $4.50 a gallon for diesel. The truck has a 300-gallon tank. It costs between $1,200 and $1,500 every time they fill the tank. Well, if the dollar collapses, the dollar right now is what's used to buy crude oil worldwide. If the dollar collapses, then they will use some other currency to buy oil, and oil in this country will probably increase tenfold the price of oil. And if that happens, basically trucking just simply stops. And if trucking stops, then you know that the grocery stores are going to be stripped within 24 or 48 hours. And then give it a week or 2 and everybody will be out in the streets rioting for food and fighting each other. And so if you've got your home store, you can just sit back and stay out of that melee and be comfortable and cozy. We also have natural disasters. I don't know if you've heard anything about the drought that's happening in the West right now. And California is a huge producer of food and produce for the United States. And the drought is so bad that this year, in fact, it's the worst drought in recorded history since they started keeping weather records. This year there's 500,000 acres or more that are not even going to be planted because there is no water to water the crops. So this means that we are looking at probably, I've heard people talking that they're expecting at least a 4-fold increase in the price of much of our food this summer or within the next year. So if you have food set aside, then you can weather that until the drought ends and the food prices come back down again. There's really many reasons. For instance, Hurricane Sandy that hit New York last year. people in Staten Island were in serious trouble because the bridges were all closed and they weren't prepared. They were running out of food. They were out of water. They were all mad at FEMA because they weren't being taken care of with the emergency supplies that they needed. But as far as I'm concerned, it was the fault of the people themselves for the most part, because they were not prepared ahead of time. They had no food set aside, they had no water set aside, and no way to get any because they were stuck on that island until the bridges opened. So I could go on and on here. There's just there's no way to even foresee the types of emergencies that could arise. What if you lose your job all of a sudden and you get unemployment, but that's not enough? And if you have a food store set aside, then you can eat on that for a year until you find a new job. There's really very many reasons. So if you're interested in Thrive Foods, if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you can message me. Otherwise, you can go to, or if you have any questions about it, you can message me. Or otherwise, you can go to the website, bkeller.thrivelife.com, and there's a tab on there to contact me about any questions that you may have about any individual products or how it works. Or you can just order directly from the website. And I want to thank you very much for allowing me to give you the reasons that we use Thrive Foods in our home. Thank you.